on this computer. It's so fancy now. I forget that it says an alert when it says that we're recording. Hey, everybody.
I didn't know it did that. So now I know because I'm like, oh, I'll start doing this like in 2 weeks. So, okay.
You're like, what? Yes. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Whiskey Sour Libations and Conversation. I am your host, the lovely, beautiful Dominique here on this wonderful day. Because by the time it's come out, it won't be that day. So, yes. If you're watching, you can see my lovely, beautiful guest by the name of Tiffany Ram. She is a multimedia host. She is a therapist. She is a fitness guru. She does it all. So I felt like it was so important to have her here today because she has such a great, interesting story. And I'm just here for the shit. And let's kick this shit. Hey, boo, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Ooh, nice intro. Yay, that sounds familiar.
I'm trying, we have a good vibe. So it's just like, whatever. So yes. What's going on? Like, how are you? How have you been during this pandemic? Or is it really a pandemic anymore?
Right? Because we're in California where like, I think we're still really some of the most locked down. But I don't know if we're still in it or not. I don't know what to say about that. But it's a weird thing for me to say. I'm actually really well. I actually did really well through the pandemic, even though like I actually did have a lot of like family things come up during the pandemic and like challenges, but I actually thrived right on through 2020. So I can't complain for myself.
No,
so things are good. Here.
No, that's great. Like I said, my mom had major surgery literally right before we locked down, and I made it back to LA in time because I was not getting stuck in St. Louis because I didn't know if they was going ground flights or anything. Hey. Could you imagine like being stuck in no shade.
April 28th. So 1 month after the like actual official lockdown, so April 2020, my brother actually had a heart transplant in South Minneapolis during George Floyd riot. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So yeah, we can't imagine. My family, we went through, he recovered from a full heart transplant in the middle of the pandemic. So yeah, we when I tell you, I come from a line of survivors, like we good.
Oh, wow. Well, how is he? Is everything good? And he's just kicking and screaming like it ain't never happened?
Yes. Thank you. Amen. Like, yes, absolutely. He's living because someone else had to go. So, it's a weird blessing, but we're thankful for it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Amen.
That's why I said I'm like thriving through the pandemic, oddly enough.
We met in an interesting way. I met you, we have a mutual friend, and out the gate, you were just loud and proud and was just like, I'm like, who is this? Like, who is Tiffany? Like, I want to know who Tiffany is because you always have so much to say. Like myself, I always got something to say. Like, oh, okay. So, and maybe that's one of the reasons why we get along so well. But like, who is Tiffany? Like, tell the world who you are.
Well, it's funny you say that because I say that I'm an extroverted introvert. So yes, like when I'm out and I'm able, of course, I'm loud and out, right? Like I'm okay to be outspoken. But that's because one of my full-time jobs is, a professional empath. I'm a therapist, and a good part of my job is healing other people's trauma and listening to them, right? To empower people, you have to hear their story. And so most of the time, people who like just meet me socially think like I'm just always blabbing and have something to say. But oddly enough, my job is to really shut up and listen, which is probably why I'm always talking when I'm out. Yeah, I have been like this combination of a healer and performer my whole life since I was a kid. So whether it's like pageants or acting or modeling, running a nonprofit, doing social work, like I've always been just, healing people through storytelling in any way that I can, whether it's getting them to tell their story or listening to mine. So that's what I do.
Well, it's interesting that you say listening to people's stories or whether it's them telling mine. You have such an amazing story. You know, I've been watching a lot of your lives lately, and people are strange. That's neither here or there. But you've been married before. You are divorced. You're now in a new relationship that's going really well for you, and you also identify as a pansexual. Yeah. And so like that's part of your journey in bringing, you know, and who you are today, and being open and honest about that. What has that looked like since you have realized like, yes, that's definitely me? Because I know you said that you knew growing up at an early age that you not only liked men, but you had an interest in women as well. And we never really talk about that, especially in our community. It's just everything is so taboo. What has that journey been like, and how has your family been understanding?
So it's interesting in that, you know, I come from a pretty conservative like upbringing actually. I'm biracial. My mom is white and my stepdad is white, and I didn't know my bio dad growing up. So I tell people like culturally I was raised white. And my stepdad's family is like uber conservative, traditional, like farmers. And my mom is like a white girl from the city. So that's this whole own story. But with that being said, like, I don't think most of my stepdad's family knows, but my brothers and my mom have known I've been out since the 8th grade.
Eighth grade, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, I've been out bisexual because that's the word I knew to describe, you know, to the best of my ability, my identity. Then I involuntarily was outed in 8th grade by a fellow gay friend. Annoying now that like I think it took him till he was like 26 to come out, but he finally came out. Like one of those people like we all knew before you did, you know, whatever. But
I think we all have one of those friends.
And I told him, and you know, so we both were like out to each other, and but he got mad one day, and
of course,
went and told there was like our Jesus freaks, you know, like our Christian group of friends in our small town. So one day he got mad at something I said, and he went and told all of them, and of course, then they told the world. So here I am. Like one of only like 5 brown people in my community, plus now 8th grade going into 9th grade as a cheerleader, like outed. So it was just a hot mess. But my out story to my mom is really cute. Like I told her one day, like, hey mom, I'm pretty sure I like girls too, you know, like, and she was like, oh, I kissed a girl once. It's not for me. And that's just where it was, you know, like she was just like, meh, you know, she's like, let's not tell your dad. And that's just all, you know, my stepdad. She was like, right. That was it. Right. So she really didn't make a big stink about it. My mom just loves me with all her everything, you know, but
that's really dope.
Yeah, but I mean, we also have never been confronted with me bringing a woman home.
Okay.
You know, or like a transgender person home. Like me just bringing Black men home has already been like a boundary, you know, like that's been a whole journey itself. So
really interesting, but because you're like you said, your biological father is Black. So how?
Yes.
Like that's a whole nother.
That's another episode. I have a YouTube like channel about that right there. Identity.
Oh Lord, because this is gonna be 3 hours. Because I'm like, but that's part of who you are, like. Is it that maybe that they just didn't understand, or like you said, like you were raised in a predominantly white area and they just would assume that you would date white guys? But
like my mom likes Black men. Like don't get it twisted. Like she got a soft spot for them. They're attractive. Like who can deny? But yeah, it's the rest of the family and other dynamics. So yeah, that's its whole own thing. So oddly enough, I've been out, right? Like bisexual to like friends. And, you know, like I said, my brothers and my mom know, but I've never had to like cross that barrier of like bring a significant other home other than men. So at this age though, if or when it happens, I have no problem with it. Cause at this point, like I do not be caring. Like, you don't pay my bills, like you don't
Right.
bring me peace, you're not the, the center to my love. So yeah, or love for myself. So yeah, like if or when that happens, I have no problem being like, this is so and so. Hey, like so.
Right.
But yeah, I have had to go through that, and that's what I tell people, that the assumptions that come with anything other than heterosexual is that most people presume I'm hetero because most of the relationships I publicly have had are with men.
Okay.
Right. And
Right.
so then when I discuss not being straight, people are like, what? Oh my God. And then there's so many inappropriate questions that come after that. But yeah, I have actually been out for the longest.
Okay.
So I made an intentional like goal this year for Pride to just be like a more loud advocate because I'm safe. I have my own private practice. I have a job, a very protected job where like if they try to fire me for that, like I wish you would, like I will bring that lawsuit with the thunder. So I'll be happy for that lawsuit.
I tell people all the time, I was like, okay, that's fine. We can sue. That's that.
Right? Like if that's what you want to fire me for.
Like,
okay. No problem. So yeah, I feel very safe, and I figured like this is the year where I'm like, why not use my privilege and my safety to be loud for the people who can't be loud.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I hear you and I understand. For kind of break down what a pansexual is for the listeners that don't understand.
Right. So a lot of people are like, well, okay, you like boys and girls. I'm like, but more, right? Because a lot of people think that gender and sexuality is just binary, male, female. They don't, like most people don't understand that there are other things between male and female. And so pansexual is saying that you aren't limited in attraction based on gender. So that means like, yeah, I could be attracted to a transgender man or woman, someone who identifies as non-binary, like the whole spectrum that is, gender and sexuality. Yeah. So, and that's the first question that comes like, Tiffany, then have you been with a transgender person or would you be with one? I'm like, yeah, that's like,
she would.
So yeah.
I'm like, yes. As someone that knows Tiff, yes, she will.
It should,
Yeah.
But also it's a huge misunderstanding because people think that's like anything that's non-heterosexual, they just, I think our society is taught that means promiscuous.
Right.
So they hear like, oh, sexually fluid, or like that I talk about sex, and now they think I'm just out here slinging that thing, and I'm not. So,
that's the anytime a woman is in control of her body and what she has going on, girl, the dog is under the table biting me, and I'm really trying to fight her off.
Okay, get him. You're jumping in the camera.
I'm like, what the heck is going on? Zaza, get. Girl, I'm like, what's happening? And I'm like, what is that? What is that? Like biting. But yeah, so like a lot of times when women are in control of their sexuality and how they navigate, men always seem to have something to say about that. So how has that been? Because I know the majority of your probably biggest critics have been men and pick-me women.
Yes, weirdly enough, I don't think it's just odd over the years, the following that I have. Pick-me women are just not part of my following. So thankfully, I don't have like hater backlash. I don't lose those followers, and there's not just people stalking me to stalk for the most part. So I have that.
You sure? Because you got a lot of followers.
I do. A lot of it, I think, came from my fitness journey originally.
Okay.
I started in the other parts of like who I am, but in regards to my male followers, yeah, a lot of them are touchy around anytime I share something that ruins their fantasy. And you risk that. Like, okay, if you're here, you're here. And if you're just here to click the cute pictures, that's fine. But then don't get your feelings hurt when I actually have words to say. So I do lose followers here and there. Recently I did, because I think they just don't read and don't listen. It's like, this isn't new. For followers who have followed me since the beginning, this isn't new information. But for maybe the people who just pop in and out or just like the pictures, I think it ruins their fantasy when they're like, wait, what? What are you doing? Who are you?
which is so interesting, because like you said, like it is it's all over your page. So it's like, what I don't understand, because yesterday you had a live where you were kind of, well, the day before yesterday, you have so many lives. So yesterday you were talking about like your journey and everything. And then you said today that you had lost so like a huge following. You had never seen it happen in those numbers. Like, why do you feel like people are so, why do you think that people cannot take who you really are? Like you are, and I think in this day that a lot of people, like we crave so much realness because we are so pumped with faith. So you would think that people would be just appreciative and understanding, but why do you think that it like caused such a big sting for people?
Again, I think it ruined their fantasy. Okay. Because in that live I explained that like me even identifying this way doesn't mean I'm promiscuous.
Right.
And it's like, I think for a lot of men it challenged them. I'm like, just because I'm pansexual or even just not straight, right, doesn't mean I'm having a threesome with you. Doesn't mean I want to share my female or non-trans, straight partner with you.
Right.
And so those words I think just really I think shattered the fantasy for a lot of followers, because, and it's funny because I talk about it all the time. I'm like, I don't date my followers. You can hit me in the DM, I'll respond and be nice and cordial, but I'm not dating my followers.
I have no interest in it.
I appreciate your support, but I think a lot of people were just upset with how blunt that message was. Like, I could talk about sex all day, but that doesn't mean I'm having sex with you.
It's like, always so confusing. So it's just like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just always so confusing that people, and I guess mainly because I guess men think of Instagram or like Twitter or Facebook kind of in the idea, because we think about like being a fan of somebody, and then now like you have you kind of have so much access to the net that's like kind of unprecedented. And so I've had people say crazy things just solely being associated with certain people, and I'm like, what? Like I am really confused. This is really uncomfortable. And I'm like, and like you, I always try to be nice. So navigating that as a whole has been interesting, but it's just like, did you really? And I guess a lot of things do go down in the DM, like Yo Gotti says, but not like, what are the chances? Not in mine. I'm like, did you really think that was going to happen? So, right. I mean, you didn't start this message off with saying, hey, I'm trying to pay your rent for the rest of your life or your bills for the rest of your life. So I don't know what you thought you had coming.
I don't know either. And it's even funny because even with the flued out culture that we think exists or that we know can happen, like I've been flued out, but I was flued out by an actual friend. Like there was no expectation of sex or whatever. Like I've gone on $30,000 trips, not been expected to have sex with somebody. You know what I mean? So even if they hit me with that, like, yeah, come to Atlanta, I'd be like, okay, so you can get my own room. Like, I'm not staying at your house with you. I don't know, you stranger danger. Like, you can buy me this, I will come out there for this free trip. Before I get there. And I always tell people, like, have money to get back home on your own.
No, and that is true, baby. And if you can't afford, even on a trip with your homegirls, like afford to have that room on your own, if something happened, get your own space, you don't need to go. And that's just being real. Exactly.
And because it's happened, I had a homegirl get flued out and she realized like that wasn't what she thought it was going to be. And the person got upset, canceled her ticket, and she was stranded in the middle of New York, like a suburb outside of New York City, like in New York State. And then calling, like crying, like I'm on the doorstep. I'm like, girl, you should have made a better plan. This is trash. What's happening? Like,
right?
What?
I don't know. I have been on who knew that this was gonna come up today? Because I was gonna do an episode about this thing. I had gotten flown out, and it really wasn't flown out. I had a long date over the course of a weekend. And on the way over to where we were going, this guy that I was dating at the time was like divulging so much shit. And I'm like, God damn, just shut up. I'm not trying to get to know you on this flight. Like, we have had so many dates. Like, this is not time to like be spilling the tea. And on flights, to be quite honest, I go to sleep. So I was just trying to really sleep. Like, I worked all week and I had traveled like a couple of days prior to that. So I really just wanted to rest on this flight.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, if there was an eject button, I needed an eject button. And when I tell people, people always think I make this statement up, but men, y'all be talking yourself out of pussy. Oversharing and things that I really don't give a fuck about. That's how you do that. And it is true. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for this whole weekend, but I'm gonna keep it cute because I'm about to be stranded here. And at that time, like the job I had, like I was making decent money, but I was like, I ain't really trying to spend that money to get back. So you keep it cute, and then you just kind of ghost them when you get back. That's exactly what I did. So yeah.
Whatever strategy, I say keep it safe. So that's where like I have, and I've talked about it openly, when radio shows I've been on, I was on one radio show consistently for 2 years, co-hosting that show, my own podcast and other people's podcasts, and talking about just the different phases that I went through after my divorce and just living in LA, right?
Yeah.
I have lives. I have my social work and therapeutic life, and then I also have my entertainer life, and like things be popping in both those worlds,
Right.
So going through those phases, discovering different parts of like life, and the flued out like sugar baby, lifestyle was definitely something I dabbled in. It's not for me, but and I respect the girls who be getting it done that way. But yeah, I definitely realized I didn't want to ever get in a situation where it was a situation. Right. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I feel like I have to have sex to stay safe, or like afraid to say no, because that's what happens. Sometimes it's like you just say yes to get along with the get along so we don't get hurt.
Right.
And so just making some rules for myself on how to stay safe. And yeah, some of my friends have gotten totally free trips because I refuse to go on those trips alone. So I have one homegirl, she got 2 free all expense paid trips to Vegas. Like full, like Nelly, T.I. concerts, Drake's nightclub, VIP, popping bottles. Like, cause I'm like, I'm not coming by myself. It became a suite for me and you, and tickets for 2, and drinks for me.
Right.
So if you can't afford 2 of us, like you can't afford one of us.
No, that's real. Like, I don't think a lot of people kind of think about that. Cause did you see, like, there's a video that's viral about a guy, he pretty much fell in love with like a stripper, and she got, all these gifts and things out of it. And like now he's like in his feelings because she probably was like, I ain't trying to fuck with you no more. And he's suing her.
To get his stuff back?
Girl, I'm gonna send you the video. He is suing her, yes, to get his stuff back, and was like, those were loans. Yes. So I'm like, girl, exactly. Nobody like
now that I'm more grown. Now that I'm more grown and I understand, like, no, like I will bring you to court. You're gonna pay more in these attorney fees and you will get back in this stuff, I promise. Because that's just ridiculous. Like if you want, and that's what I kind of like tell people, like if you want to trick off men or women on somebody else, those are gifts. And that's just the investment.
And that's just what it is.
Relationship. That's the exchange that took place, and so, and when people ask me even about like prostitution or sugar baby, and I'm like, basically we all prostitutes. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like,
and yes,
if you go on a date, if you go on a date and then you have sex, well, whether it's for Applebee's or
Applebee's. What's that? Like, no, I'm just playing. No, but
yeah, people be like, Tiffany, a first date, this girl asked me to take me there because I know some very, rich men and women, very wealthy. Yeah. And they'll come and be like, oh, I don't do this on a first date. And I'm like, well, just know some people don't not do that,
Right,
like,
right.
I personally am okay with like, I'd rather just have a conversation and do coffee or tea or something for a first date to see if it's even worth our time. But I'm not against men who are like, no, I need a 4-star, restaurant. Why? Because especially if you expect something at the end, I'm getting what I want in the beginning, like I'm gonna go eat what I want to eat. So, and I'm like, yeah, like if you went on a date and had Applebee's and then you had sex afterwards, well, you had sex for Applebee's. You know, I've gone on first
And,
dates.
and if that's the case, like give us a call so you're not having sex for Applebee's, so we can guide you. And I mean, even if you're in a small town, we can get them to take you to the next big city over. Just give us a call and we'll answer your call and emails so that doesn't happen to you.
So yeah, it's interesting.
You're not gonna get me for no 2 for $25.
I used to live on that. I ain't gonna lie, but that was the college days. So
I know, but that's college. Oh my God. I had to break it down to somebody. I was like, you know, I live in LA. LA is expensive. And I was like, I have no interest in dating somebody that's broke and trying to figure it out. You know, I've already done that when I was in college, you know, in LA, I've had so much access, and that's not being a gold digger. It's just like, this rent is hella expensive. And I'm like, and if you're trying to thinking that you're gonna lay up all day, like, and we fucking and you playing Xbox, you got another fucking thing coming. Like, I just have no interest in dating broke men. Like, I did that in college. That was cute, that was fun, but this is a whole nother ballpark. And I feel like a lot of times women find themselves in situations dating broke men because they're like, oh, well, you know, he's not. No, bitch, them bills ain't nice. And I feel like a lot of times people don't know how to, a lot of times people find themselves in spaces where they settle. And that's how you end up like, well, this person, I'm like, no, I'm cool. I told you. And now you in your feelings. I'm like, you at least could have got like your rent paid or a couple, you know, like a few investments out of it. But so
yeah, so what I don't do are items like that I can get myself. So that's kind of my rule. Like, I know I dated at one point a private jeweler, and I don't mean like a storefront jeweler. I mean a wholesale diamond and gems dealer.
Oh, so nice.
Diamonds and gems to the jewelry stores. So like that, right?
I'm like, I'm intrigued. I'm sitting here like, yes, bitch, teach me your ways.
On the phone, Lord, like that's the thing with me. Where like certain relationships, like they don't ever end in a way that like I can't go back. And right. It's not a situation where I leave them dangling, like, oh, they know it's done. But right. Yeah, if I come back, it's still like, well, Tiff talk, okay, like,
right, so, right.
But yeah, but I remember like he would just give me random jewelry that I did not request or even my taste. And I'll be like, it's not cute because I didn't request this. It's not my taste, and it doesn't really cost you anything. Like this, right. You have access to already. Right. So I remember the first meaningful piece was I had just casually like made a comment about like, oh, because someone had asked me, one of my followers asked me like, oh, if I ever get married again, do I want a traditional diamond? And I'll, you know, have responded with a picture of this very specific ring. Like, I don't know if I really want a diamond, like a traditional diamond, but I would want this. And it was like amethyst set in diamonds. Okay. Right? Ooh, so I showed them a snapshot of that picture, right? Literally, it just so happened to be like days before Valentine's Day too. And so literally for Valentine's Day, boom, like 3 days later, custom made, almost identical ring to the picture I showed. And I was like, so that's how you do it, friend. There you go. Like, like, listen, pay attention. Don't just give me random things I didn't ask for. Because it was like a tiny little diamond pendant necklace. And I'm like, well, that's cute. But if you didn't notice, I never wear necklaces.
Right. Like that is the worst. That is the worst when somebody gives you gifts and you're just like, where'd you get that from? I remember I was dating like a doctor one time, and he had went to like Turkey and had gotten me like costume jewelry. And I'm like, sure. Girl, I threw that shit in the trash. I was like, I had never.
Like, oh, you can sell it. You can. I'm like, no. How about you listen and actually solicit what I want? Because at that point, I was asking for like a new laptop or like a deposit on an office space that I wanted. Right. And of course, like later on, like he really did, because he realized he did not give me the laptop and that did not go well. So he got put on the timeout list, didn't like being put on timeout. But so later then like, yeah, help me get into my office space to support my business. Now as I tell people, like, you need to listen, like love people how they request to be loved. You know, my platinum, treat others how they want to be treated, right? Not how you treat them. Like
exactly, and I think that's a key thing, because we talk about love languages so much and the different languages, and you know, people just not really understanding how their partner needs. Like, it's like, I hear you, but I don't really hear you. So that means I'm also not understanding you. And so I just feel like we all find ourselves in these spaces where we're just like unhappy, and a lot of times, we also have to get in the space of being able to tell our partners, this is what I need from you. And if you can't give me that, that is okay. I will move on with my life and find somebody that can accommodate me and meet me where I'm at and also help elevate me too. I'm a huge advocate for that. I've walked away from a lot of situations where it could have benefited me financially on so many levels, but emotionally it was like nothing there at all. So right. I mean, yeah, that's facts. But
that's probably what brings me to the other aspect of my life that I'm sure you're like, ooh, can we talk about that? Was I do believe in like articulating your emotional needs to your partner and like being able to move on if they're not meeting it, whether it be emotional or financial or whatever your boundary or needs are. And in my case, I'm also like pro polyamory, like pro poly relationships, like the whole spectrum of non-monogamous relationships. And so many people always ask me questions about that. And I'm like, well, if I care about my partner, but they're not able to meet my need versus just breaking up, I'm not afraid to communicate that. Okay. Like, hey, we are in a long distance relationship. I do only see you every 3 months, but these loins be lusting. And I've been cheated on. I've been the cheater and nothing good comes from that. So I rather communicate that to my partner. Like, do you really just want me over here? Like, just, yearning for you? Is that the goal? Or can I go out here and fulfill the need? Right. I had that conversation. And I rather communicate that. And oddly enough, it's a lot more common in the entertainment, like an entrepreneur space than people realize. The unspoken agreements of like how to meet our needs. And because it's just so taboo, most people don't talk about it out loud, but like, I rather communicate that to my partner or partners, like, this is what's going on. But contrary to that, I also can very much be monogamous. So I have no issue with being monogamous, but I'm just pro honesty and like meeting each other's needs.
So you said you were married before, and how long have you now been divorced, and what kind of made you walk away from your marriage and start a new life out here in the beautiful city of Angels?
Well, the short version, the very accelerated short version is I actually am out here still married. A lot of people don't know that or don't remember.
And especially if it was a guy, he probably was like, all right, cool, whatever. And not really caring. He's like, I'm still shoot my shot.
So I actually was married when I first moved to LA. Originally, we moved to Sacramento first for his new job. And then that's when it was like, Tiff, you've always wanted to pursue entertainment full time, do that. So for a year, I quit just doing social work actually and stuff altogether, and went full time doing entertainment. It was also his first time ever being the breadwinner, which most people did not know. Most people let them believe he was the breadwinner, but this was the first time him being the breadwinner, me pursuing entertainment full time. So I here in like San Francisco and commuting back and forth to LA. And then finally he's like, let's downsize in Sacramento, get a 1-bedroom there, get like you a crash pad in LA so you can go like hard in LA. Well, it only took about 3 months for me to realize with that distance, me being here Monday through Friday and him being up there, all of what I discovered had already been happening. Let's just say that. What was happening had been happening and for a long time. But I think the distance and the amount of freedom he got from me being gone so much, like just accelerated the situation. So there was already a history of emotional abuse. There was already clearly a clear history of like financial issues, but me being gone so much just like blew that out of the water. So he was cheating, which again, I just don't know. It didn't need to happen, right? Like I'm pro poly. So had
like you could have asked me, I would have been like, all right, cool.
Yeah, but this particular individual does not have the confidence or the ego to handle. I know if he would have been doing his thing, his ultimate fear was that I would be. I did have access to millionaires and billionaires in LA. So yeah, he would have that just would not have worked. But yeah, ultimately he was cheating. So there was actual physical infidelity, but then there was financial infidelity. Like he was actually lying about even to this day, I don't know, but it was like accumulating debt I didn't know about, lying about our finances, lying on our taxes. Like it was a whole situation. So when it all blew up, it was way more than just the physical cheating. Yeah. And so, but the problem was I confronted him, and instead of just being like, yeah, babe, I fucked up. Right? I wanted my marriage.
That would be too easy. That would be too easy.
The prelude to the story is like I did a lot of self-work through my sex addiction and all that to actually be in the marriage that we were in. You know, there was a lot of self-work, a lot of stuff that happened for me to like be in this marriage and be who we were and all of that jazz. So by the time I confronted him, I was like, I really just wanted him to be like, my bad, I fucked up. And I would have dealt with it. Money is just money. I always make more money. That's not a problem. And I'm a survivor, so I'm like, whatever. But I'm like, what I can't work with is the dishonesty and like, who knows what the hell is going on. And I'm like, if I do blow up in LA, the last thing I need is a tabloid story. Like, listen, that's all I told him. They had me on TMZ, stupid. Like, listen, I'm looking dumb. Like, what? So yeah, so I confronted him and he lied. He blew up. It was a hot mess. So yeah, he froze every checking account, every bank account, shut off my phone, the Wi-Fi. Like it was
that is like, shit. Why did I get married?
Literally, like
he had you out there like Sheila. Oh my gosh.
I had like whittled down my own savings at that point, trying to really trust him to be the breadwinner. And it was like a situation. So literally when we separated, I had $37 in my bank account and it was over. Like I started over. It was, wow. It was a done deal. To find out like, yeah, he had lied on our taxes. Once the divorce was final, like they were trying to come after me for back taxes. Thankfully, I was able to get out of that. But yeah, it was a hot mess. But I'm thankful that I just didn't give up. Like I was determined to stay in LA, chase my dream, become stable, and then here we are. So living the dream or working on it. So yeah.
Girl, I think that is the most important thing. And, you know, as we as women and Black women, we're so resilient and we always overcome. Like I've been low out here and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I can't go home. You know, I remember one day crying to my dad, like, I don't know, like maybe I should come home. He was like, and do what? So I was just like, I guess you're right. I gotta figure it out. And that's when you realize like you start going hard. And I feel like it's been such a shift since you know, like the pandemic happened for me, and I just and partnering and seeing your, you know, your friends kind of pushing through and creating content, that really pushed me. So right. You know, shout out to Tahir and all of them, Patrick and all of them, because that like that really, I told her all the time, like that really fucking like pushed me forward, because that's why I moved here. Like, and I lost track of my goals and my dreams. But hold on. Did you say your sex addiction? Is that what you said? So, okay, sis. So you were a sex addict. Can you walk us? What was that like, and how did you? What therapy did you go through to overcome that? And kind of what led you there?
Right. So let's break it down. First, I have a strong family history of addiction on my maternal and paternal side. During the pandemic, I actually, you know, story there, found my paternal side, actually. Look at that.
Wow, yeah.
My father is deceased. He did, you know, pass in 2013, but have made contact and been connected, reunified with all my paternal family. So that being said, strong addiction issue on my paternal side. I've been very aware of the addiction issue on my maternal side, but that was all drugs and alcohol. Nobody ever told me you could be addicted to anything else. I didn't know. Like, you know, most of my young adulthood and teen years and everything, I avoided drugs and alcohol. I just didn't do it. But there I was going through a lot in undergrad, and nobody told me you can cope in other ways. And so I already had a moral issue with like Christianity and sex and all that. And next thing you know, my apartment is across the bridge from a frat house.
Oh hell.
And that was just way too much access for somebody who is discreet and you know, just it was a situation. It really just happened. Like everybody was willing to be discreet. I had a live-in boyfriend at the time who became my fiance, but everybody was willing to be discreet for Tiff. Like, When she comes over, you do what you do, and she leave when she leave. And that was just a hot mess. And it became an issue when the backstory is, and people, this is my little disclaimer, everybody, do not, it's your business, but probably don't marry your side piece. I'm just letting y'all know, okay? So my ex-husband actually was my long-term side dude.
Wow.
And or whatever. And I think I married him to prove to myself, like, oh yeah, I picked the right one. Girl, bye. I did not. I promise you.
I commend you for your honesty and being able to say that.
And thankfully, I helped him glow up. He supported me. The other guy, like, he's doing great in life. Thank God I didn't just totally fuck him up, you know, like, because he's amazing. Right. But my ex-husband was one of my very long-term side pieces, you know? And so when I realized, like, I was just in turmoil morally, like, I knew it wasn't right. This didn't reflect who I was as a person. Girl, what are you doing? Like, get it together. Because at that point, it was more than just being promiscuous. It's more than just I like sex. It's more than just, no, girl, like, you're working full time, going to school full time, doing an internship, and you still out here finding time to, like, this is too much. You know, like, one of my old friends was saying, like, girl, you must have this amazing time management skills. Because I was.
Girl, college was different though. Like,
going to school full time. 8 full load classes at one time because my program was intense. So I was like, I don't know where I fit in time for all this loving. But I did, you know, and I realized it just was not reflective. But unfortunately, my story, like, it didn't have like a turn where it was like, oh, I was missing school because I was fucking, or like, you know, like, oh, like, you know, it was a tragedy, but it's not as dark as it could be. But yes, one person that I dealt with, I said no one night and he did not take no for an answer. And that was like the pivotal moment where I was like, and it was a third wheel to my very complicated triangle going on, where I was trying to set boundaries, and I had just started therapy. Like, I need to figure this out. I got to pick one and stick with it, you know?
Yeah.
So I had started therapy knowing, like, this is a problem. In that process, I tried to tell him no one night, and he just did not take no for an answer. And that's when I was like, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. You know, and having to go into therapy, like, so
this happened, and I'm already trying to work through. Wow. Mm-hmm.
So that's like when my story changed, because it was like a few days after it happened. My live-in at the time, you know, I was taking a shower and he looked and he was like, what in the holy fuck's on your body? Because it was bruises. Wow. Right. And then that's when I have to break down and admit, not only did this assault happen, but with who and why and how did it happen? And so that's like when really things really changed for me, because I'm like, I just had to tell you I cheated on you and I got raped. Like, that's too much. Wow. You know what I mean? So like, that's a whole lifetime movie right there. So I went through therapy. I took 2 times of going through therapy before I really like made a whole bunch of life changes, and like had to get it together, made a choice. The ex-husband, stupid. But I ultimately moved out on my own, took some time for myself, dibble-dabbled here and there, and then made a choice and stuck with it. And that's why, so then I was monogamous. I really was like monogamous. I was in recovery for 5 full years during that time before the divorce. And then my worst fear happened, which was the divorce. Wow. Day one, the day I filed divorce, I knew what my biggest fear was, which was relapse. I was like, girl, no, like, hold it together. You are in LA at 29 years old, single, like, And I wish I could tell you I did not relapse, but bye, like I did. I did. It took me a long time to even realize I was in relapse, because like it still didn't look like I think people want to think it looks like I wasn't just going to brothels and orgies and like, you know, like wilding out, but I definitely wasn't having like meaningful, like healthy sexual relationships, you know? So it took me a while to figure out, but I can proudly say I'm 2 years in recovery now. So
yay. When you say like, what did that fully look like? Like what was the moment that you realized like, shit, I'm here and I didn't want to be here and I got to get out of here?
So I keep a list. Okay. I have a list of every person I've ever had sex with.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I'll be forgetting. Honestly, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a saying. I don't know if I said this to you before, but if I don't come, it don't count. So half of them niggas doesn't matter anyway. So
that would only be like maybe 2-3 of them. So thankfully that wouldn't be too bad for me. I'm so blessed in that category. But no, part of it is accountability. And what I realize, and for me, is like, and that's what I consult on now. One of my specialties in therapy is sex and sexuality. And one of the questions I get all the time, specifically from men, is like, am I a sex addict? That's like everybody's worry, Mm-hmm. And for me, how I knew I was back in relapse was, why am I having sex? Right? Mm-hmm. I do have a high libido and I do enjoy sex. But to answer that question, why am I having sex right now? If the answer wasn't because like I enjoy this person and I actually genuinely want to have sex with them, if it was any other answer than that, I knew like, oh, this is a coping thing. Like if I'm just lonely, or if I'm really just like, don't feel like feeling the feelings I'm having right now, which was most of it. Usually I'm too Gemini to be having people around just because I'm lonely. Like I'd rather just be alone. But if I'm having you in my space because I'm ignoring the feelings that I'm feeling, or I want to be distracted, then that's a relapse behavior for me. Like okay. I'm just having sex with you because I'm trying to distract myself from something else, then that's relapse behavior. Like I have so many other coping strategies than having sex with someone I don't really like, So that's when I really started becoming more reflective. Like I don't really like some of these people at all, but I keep letting them come over, enjoy in my body. Like why? And it wasn't like their sex wasn't good. Like I wouldn't even let you in my space if it wasn't good. But I'm so much at an elevated place where it's like, it's got to be better than good sex. That's not enough. Because so many people, especially in LA, try to lead with that. Like they'll try to digmatize you into a free place to stay. Honey, no.
Girl,
I don't care how good it is. Like,
girl, I don't think I ever had no dick that good out here. I'm gonna be honest. And I've had dick out here, and I ain't had dick that was gonna have me fucked up like that. So, and I feel like I've been in those situations with them broke niggas in St. Louis, and I was living at home, so they wasn't staying on Temple. My mama was not that mama.
Yeah, no, I was just like, it did take me a while. So at first you make a lot of excuses. Someone like me make a lot of excuses, like, oh, I'm just divorced, I'm not ready for relationships, or, I'm polyamorous. So there's a lot of things that I could say to kind of work around. And that's why it took me a while to realize, like, girl, bye, you are in relapse. Like, stop it. And that's when I had to like pump all the brakes, and everybody got cut off and they didn't know why. And it was like, it took them a while to figure they were cut off, because I didn't really there were like 1 or 2 people in my life that were like really consistent. So when I went through the cutoff, like we had very specific conversations. But a lot of people were just like my random here and there. So it took them a minute to realize they were cut off, But yeah, so I had to go through the process of being like, nope, conscious sex only, like healthy relationships and boundaries only. And let's like restarted from scratch. And, again, hurt some people's feelings, but I'm a priority, so I don't care.
No, and that's, I think the dopest thing about all of this is that you realize how important you were. And I think a lot of times we always forget, and we have those moments, I've had those moments, and trying to navigate like what you're feeling and the uneasiness. And it's just like, I don't like this. And I like being in this space. And I had someone tell me that I enjoy peace too much. I was like, nah, I worked really, really hard to get here. I'm still crazy. I will still cuss you out. But I try to walk away from situations that kind of take me out of my element. So I think that's the dopest part about everything, is you realize you matter and that you have to put you first.
So. Yes. And I'm the opposite. Like, although it sounds cute, like I be saying I have ghetto fantasies. Like, I'll say like, I want to stab you in the throat. Like
ghetto fantasies. Like what you
no. I be having like I be having in my head like, oh yeah, I hate you. Like, but in real life, like you said, I love my peace too much. Yeah. And I really do enjoy being by myself. So there's been a few men like those, scrubs that feel away when like, so it's weird how like lower vibrating people get upset when they're like, oh, you trying to make, you think you're better than me. What did I say that made you feel that way? I thought we was just having a conversation. But those lower vibration men who get upset, and you're in my house, mind you, and try to, I call it posturing. If I'm sitting down on the couch and then you get so upset by something I say that you stand up quick and now you over me and you talking loud, I don't even do it. I'll just be like, you can get out. Yeah. I don't shout at you. I'm not gonna move. You can get out. Look, they're just so not used to not getting a ratchet response.
Right.
Like you're not meeting their level. And like, I don't even do it because I'm like, you in my space.
Yeah.
Like, this is me right here. Like, so I'll just be like, no, you can go, what? Huh? No, like, yeah, bye. Yeah. What is 2 a.m? Okay, get an Uber. Good night.
Right. Like, this is my house.
And I'm protected in my building. So like, if something's really going wrong, I have 2 things. I got this, I have this gun over here. Like, I'm ready. Don't get it twisted. Like I got a permit. I'm legal and everything. But also, like, I have people in my building. It's one text message for me to be like, bro, it's not safe up here. I'm not raising my voice at you. I'm not going back and forth at you. Nothing. Like, if I say like, oh, you can go, like you got to go.
Yeah. No, that's hella facts. That's hella facts.
Like, I know in public I'd be like, oh, so animated, but in relationships, nah. Like, why am I raising my voice?
Yeah.
Like, for what? Good day.
No, I tell men that when I'm dating, I was like, I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to fight. I know we'll have our differences. I feel like we can use our words in a calm manner to try to figure it out. Manner. Ooh, child. Whiskey. You know, to talk it through. And I've been in situations where I'm really calm and the person is like so upset. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're so upset. And I just let them take it there. And I'm just like, and I'm sitting there looking at them like, now, oh, great. Now, because I'm looking at you like this, I'm an asshole. Okay. That's fine.
Well, I tell people the difference between being passionate and you yelling at me, right? Like,
girl, I was yelling at me.
I'm a trained professional. Like, if you just passionate, okay. But when it turns into you shouting at me, like, there's a difference. You can be like making a point, like, oh yeah, because I'm a Gemini, so I get passionate. Don't get it.
Like, wait, you're a June Gemini, aren't you?
Oh no, I'm a May Gemini. So yeah.
Really interesting.
Because I was overdue. I waited.
I feel like my May Geminis are more calm, and my June Geminis will turn that shit up and blow it up.
Well, I turn it up in my head. Yeah, I be calm AF. In real life, I be calm, you know? So that was even, my ex-husband and I only really had like 2-3 real like blowouts. Okay. And that's because I knew after the first one, I was like, oh no. If this ever happens again, like, no. I knew this isn't the life I had. This is how I see raising children or like having a family. No. So the second time was like, yeah, when we was separated. You know, I'm packing these bags. You know what I mean? And so the second time ever that he really like, oh no, goodbye. What are you doing? I'm packing my stuff. What's happening? Yeah, I was playing, but I'm not. Like, ooh, okay, dokie. Like, I'm out here, you know. So like, I set boundaries. Like, my piece is so important.
Good. I'm so happy that you came on and you gave me an hour of your time. This was fun.
I'm glad you invited me. Thank you.
Yeah,
like you said, it's so great. So I'm happy to support anything you're doing.
Thank you. You know, I be out here trying to stay consistent. Lord, I'll be trying to take naps. So I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I'll go to take a nap.
I love the naps though, but you got to pace yourself, yes. And I will tell you, I tell so many people is you are not trying, you are doing. And there's a huge difference.
Thank you.
So
thank
keep
you.
on doing.
Oh, thank you. Well, Tiff, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
The easiest place to find me is Instagram, but I am everywhere as Tiff Talk TV. So just TIFFTALK TV. If you are in California and you do want a therapist, you can find me at GeminiWellness.org or on BetterHelp. But honestly, I opened and I closed like in the same 3 days. So I'm already full for clients, but you're welcome to message me and get on a wait list. But yeah, so
that's amazing, by the way. I am very happy that you are booked and busy, and people.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say shout out to the people that have booked with you and anybody during this very tough time. You know, I think everybody's starting to take their mental health very, very seriously. And girl, I'm on a journey, so if you know somebody, you know, but first
I will let you know.
I'm like, you know, I'm a little crazy. No, seriously, I am really working on like being the best version of myself because, you know, nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. I know that sounds very corny, but you know,
the only true barrier you have is yourself. So once you
yeah.
master that, like really the sky is the limit. So I'm glad that you said you're acknowledging you want to do your self-help journey, and I encourage it. So yeah, I will definitely shoot you an email of someone I recommend. I don't know if she's taking clients right now either, but I'll send you her information.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. And I hope that you will come and sit with us and chat, hopefully in real time. I'm trying to work on a space. So, you know, if that comes together, then girl, yeah, we're going to pull up and, you know, be face to face for real, for real.
Yes.
So
everybody that me, I was like, ooh, virtual's working because I did have a space, but now I'm like not encouraged to go back to a space. So I'm like, I might just stay on this thing. So you're better than me, but yeah, I support anything you do. So invite me whenever.
All right, boo. Thank you so much.